bread and circuses. This is Talk Radio 680 WCBM and WCBM.com. The Jimmy Mathis Show starts now.
Welcome to Hour 2 of the Jimmy Mathis Show. With you till 8 o'clock, 410 WCBM 680, 410-922-6680. On Twitter, at Jimmy Mathis Show. New website up and running that I'm very proud of, by the way. And yes, I will tell you, I built it myself for a nominal fee. Just a poor country boy. I like it. It's clean, and it solves a lot of the complaints I've had over the years. Is if you don't hear the show live, you can't get the program. You can't time shift it. So we have fixed that. You can get the podcast at jimmymathisshow.com. There's a listen to it live that'll push you to the WCBM website. Mm-hmm. Thanks to Scott Crowder, you can see videos now of the segments. All of that is on jimmymathisshow.com. You can email the show from that page. Speaking of emails, a lot of them coming in over the last half hour. Normally, Delegate Pat McDonough follows me at 8 o'clock. The delegate called in, and Nino and Pat's show have been temporarily pulled for political reasons. I was not aware of that going onto the air, but a lot of people emailing me, asking me questions. So, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know. That was news to me when the delegate called in. It is somewhat ironic, however, because as everybody knows, I was running for state senate against Delegate Chris West for Senator Brochen's old seat in the 42nd, and
wait a couple of weeks.
It's kind of poetic justice. It would have been a coin flip. The delegate Chris West had kind of assumed the role of incumbent in that race, and I don't know. The team thought it was within the margin. My team thought that race was within the margin of error, but that he probably beats me by a neck, in horse racing terms. Tyrone's rolling his eyes. Thank you. I appreciate that. And then, he challenges me in court, and that was when I really felt confident because it just showed, how afraid he was of our campaign. But it was him beating me by a neck with having the platform. So if he would have just run the course, I would have probably been off the air right now also.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Isn't it funny how the cookie crumbles?
It's kind of scary also how, they, among Republicans, playing real hardball, for these jobs, for these political positions.
I'm just saying this to the Republicans out there. Just run your own campaigns. Stop worrying about the other guy. We have a great product to sell. Just run your game.
Right.
Don't get consumed with the other guy. It's really just run on your platform.
Exactly.
Jack Posobiec in the studio. How you doing, Jack?
Jimmy Mathis, what is going on, brother?
I haven't seen you in a while.
Been a minute.
Liberals,
Been a while.
apparently.
No, you see the other guy.
I was
That's all
going
I'm
to
saying.
say, somebody with the arm brace on there, and are you okay?
No, that was took a little spill doing some skiing out in Colorado, and I'm supposed to put this on for a while.
You're not jumping out of helicopters and stuff, are you?
I'm not at liberty to say, Jimmy.
No. Well, if you're traveling, did you go to Colorado just to go skiing?
Yes, that's exactly where I went. Yes.
So you're doing some legitimate skiing then?
No, they actually were. We were gonna do the helicopters, but it was the weather, right? The wind. There was too much wind, so we ended up doing the helicopters.
So you just strap some pieces of plywood to your feet and just go down a large mountain out in Colorado.
Pretty much, yeah.
Bad circumstances.
See, this is my first time in Colorado. No, this is my first time skiing in Colorado. So what I found out was, I grew up in Pennsylvania, so I know like Poconos, Appalachian Mountains, that whole bit. Yeah. The Rockies are nowhere near this. They're not even the same league as East Coast mountains, and so
first of all, they have snow, not ice. First of all,
yes, exactly. So I found out that on the slopes over here, which are much rounder and kind of softer, I can do pretty well. Out there, I'm like nothing. I'm like a novice out there.
Now, I don't know all my geography in America, but the mountains are just bigger. Also, the further west you go, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Precisely.
Yes.
Bigger and pointier. And pointier means more of a slope, and there you go.
Which means faster.
Which means faster. Yeah. Yeah, a whole lot of that.
Now, how old were you when you first started skiing?
I mean, I never really did skiing regularly. I would probably say maybe 13, 14, but, once a year, twice a year kind of thing.
No, I'm glad you're okay.
Oh, yeah, I'm fine.
I went snowboarding once. When I say once, I mean once. And that was out at Round Top, I think.
So my brother, though, I've got a younger brother, 3 years younger, and he got all those genes. He can hop up on a snowboard and he's twirling and he's twisting. And I look at him and I say, how do you do all that? And he's like, oh, well, you know, you just get on and then you balance and you kind of go down. And it's just a natural thing for him. Yeah.
Okay, that's why there's 2 reasons I don't snowboard anymore. First of all, just falling down a mountain with a board attached to my feet that, by the way, unlike skiing, doesn't come off.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, okay, not doing that. So I went straight to the lodge and figured what I did with the rest of my afternoon. The kids are like 7, 8, they're like, just whipping around you.
Yeah,
This is just annoying.
Yeah, that's the worst. You see him just flying fast. Why are you going so slow? Why aren't you keeping up with the rest of us? And you're just like, oh yeah, I'll be there in a minute. I'm just checking out the scenery.
So, Jack, I was texting you back and forth yesterday on what we were going to talk to. This is the first time you've been on the show. First of all, give your credentials real quick for people that aren't familiar with you.
Jack Posobiec, former Navy intelligence officer, author of the book Citizens for Trump about the 2016 election, what it means for America, and current contributor to One American News, OAN Cable.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you very much.
That's a new position for you. Very popular on Twitter. Your Twitter handle?
Twitter handle's my name, JCKPOSOBIEC.
So you and I were talking before 9 o'clock last night. Just your thoughts on the decision for Donald Trump to levy the missiles into Syria. And just also the response that he got immediately following that announcement at 9 o'clock. I mean, the left lost their mind. They were comparing this to a wag the dog scenario. This was all just to, distract off of what the real issue is, whatever that is. And then again, on Twitter, Donald Trump catching a lot of flack today for using the mission accomplished phrase, which it seems, and we all kind of cringe on that because, as we were talking about earlier, that is synonymous with Donald Trump on the aircraft carrier. Bush on the aircraft carrier with Iraq, but this very defined mission was accomplished.
Right, and so this was something that I took a lot of personal interest in. Number one, because OAN actually has someone on the ground in Damascus.
Okay.
So I was talking to him all last night, and then through this morning, he's been sending clips back. He's done a few live hits for us, kind of telling us what's going on. And I remember he actually woke up and texted me. It was 4 a.m. for him, and he said, "I think there's some mortar strikes going." I said, "No, the president just just announced." This is like as Trump is speaking, he was texting me. I said, "No, this is this is something serious." But then I also realized, wait a minute, if he's texting me, right, then that means infrastructure is still basically in place. This isn't this. We haven't descended into a all-out war zone or something like some people would have you believe. And I said, well, it must still be relatively stable there. So already in my mind, I'm thinking very limited strike, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And then I got all the way forward to this morning, and I went, and this with my former Navy officer hat on, and I said, okay, I want to conduct some BDA, and that's what we call battle damage assessment. What was struck? How much of it was struck? Does it still work? Could they use it again, etc.? And when I looked at the target list, I mean, it really seems like it was just these 3 targets. It was sort of a research academic facility in Damascus, and then 2 storage sites up in Homs in the north. And so what you didn't see were any targets specifically related to anti-air defense, related to, it wasn't, in the 80s, Reagan struck Gaddafi's house, right? He struck his palace, may have killed one of the children. Assad's palace, none of his homes were struck, nothing like that.
And Mathis said that during the briefing at 10 o'clock last night, that Assad was not one of the targets on this.
Right, so we can look at it, and so that's where I'm coming down on all of this. We've got our statements that we're saying, the other side's got their statements they're saying, but I just want to say, okay, what was actually hit?
Right.
What was the target list? Because that's really all that matters at the end of the day. And when I looked at it, I said, okay, yeah, this is probably just some stuff related to a chemical weapons program, or some stuff that we didn't like, we wanted to get out of it, but I don't see it as something that's going to draw Russia in. And to be honest, I know they were trying to downplay it, but I really do think they deconflicted this pretty closely with the Russians. It's something that when the general tried to kind of play it off in the press conference, said, well, we passed them some information, but they may never. No, that is tactical information that has to be passed. It's very specific. They knew exactly what was getting hit. None of the Russian surface-to-air missiles tried to engage any of our cruise missiles, and that's the end of it. That's just the end of it.
Yeah, and Tyrone and Jack, you talk about the damage to the targets. That was one of the criticisms with the missiles that were launched in April that went after the airport. The airport was back up and running in a matter of days, I believe. So how successful, how meaningful was that original 59 missile attack that they had? And this feels a little bit different.
I mean, I think it was successful from the standpoint of sending a message more so
Right.
than it was,
Exactly, right.
you know, in terms of damage to actual infrastructure. And I mean, hey, look, this occurred at a military base. It's not like they're going to sit around and, you know, wait or, you know, to get this thing back online as soon as they possibly can. So, did they do it rather quickly? Yeah, I think, though, it was more of a message than an actual attempt to really wreak any kind of destruction.
So what's the progression of all this?
I think the progression of all this is essentially it's sort of really I kind of take the president at his word, because if you peel away sort of all the fluff that's out there, he's enforcing a red line.
Mm-hmm.
He's saying no chemical weapons. Look, I know you guys have used them. I know the other side has used them. I don't know where those guys have theirs. I know where you have yours. I'm going to hit them. I'm letting you know that. And if you heard the Syrian ambassador today, he said, well, you know, I mean, we might have some, but he was very much equivocating on all of his statements. So even though he was denying it, he wasn't outright denying that they had any program.
Well, Jack, right before you came on, we were talking to Roger Stone, and Roger brought up a point that's been echoed by many people over the last 24 hours. Donald Trump was on the record several days ago saying he wanted out of Syria. What would be the political reasoning for Assad to levy this sort of attack when America is getting out of his country? Because all you're doing right now is poking the bear.
Yeah, I mean, that must be some kind of new military strategy that I haven't heard of. That when you're winning a war, you use weapons that in you know, fourth generational warfare dimension that we're in right now, that will draw stronger nations into, you know, I mean, into intervene. It doesn't quite make any sense.
Is it a fight that we should be in right now?
I don't see a bigger role for us in Syria, and I think the president is looking at it that way too. He knows that Assad is essentially reclaiming his territory. He's reestablishing control over the country. I don't see anything that we've done militarily to challenge that, only to say we don't want to see chemical weapons, period.
I got no problem with it at all, Tyrone. None.
Well, and again, as
we're not nation building. We're not putting boots on the ground. We're not trying to form and build a government.
Right.
I got no issue.
And as were discussing before, Russia has a larger interest in the country than
Right.
we do with the Tartar submarine base. So, you know, I think they have more of a vested interest. And I think that, you know, I was with Trump on the 3rd when he said, you know, I want to leave. So.
But we do have two interests. We have an interest on the red line when it comes to using chemical weapons, and we have an interest when it comes to, you know,
But we've
one of our largest
demonstrated-
allies with Israel.
We've demonstrated twice that we don't need troops there to actually do what we've done 2 times now, which is strike them, you know, using missiles.
Right, Jack, and that's, you know, that's the way the liberal media was playing this after the president's address, was we're getting sucked into another Iraq. I never took it that way.
No, I didn't see it that way either. And again, I go back to the target list. Nothing was targeted last night that would set up a preparation for any type of ground invasion. Right. Not a single thing. All of that infrastructure, all of those defenses are still very much in place.
That is Jack Posobiec, along with Tyrone Keys. I am Jimmy Mathis. Congressman Andy Harris is scheduled to join the program at 7:40. Speaker Ryan will not seek re-election. We'll talk about that after the break. It is 7:20. You're listening to the Jimmy Mathis Show on Talk Radio 680 WCBM.